Episode 2 of Season 3 is upon us, and my favorite moments all have to do with Roy. In this scene, he is being totally passive-aggressive, which for Roy is actually different. Usually he's just straight up aggressive, but in this moment, he's got one of his two big hatreds in the room, Trent Crimm, and another one of his two big hatreds, sympathy and pity. All the balloons and the cards and the sympathy about his breakup. He can't stand the sympathy, the pity, or Trent Crimm, so this is his perfect opportunity to destroy both of them. It's kind of ruthless, but also hilarious to see how stoic Roy is as he's popping these balloons just methodically, but also seeing the rage underneath that calm exterior. So I think it'd be safe to say his conflict management style isn't exactly strong at this point, but later in the episode, he does it really well when he confronts Trent. This scene when he finally confronts Trent about why he hates him so much. He pulls out that newspaper clipping from years ago from Roy's rookie year, and he reads the quote that Trent wrote about him. And he keys in on this word disappointment. And when he says that word disappointment, you can just see the rage in his eyes.
A profound disappointment.
And as he's glaring right through Trent, he says, "This wrecked me."
This fucking wrecked me.
And I started thinking about all the different decisions that Roy makes as we look back on the show, even in this season. He's always trying to avoid being a disappointment or being disappointed. He's going to be the one who leaves first. He's going to be the one who quits first. He cannot handle the rejection or the burden of being the disappointment. And these events happen to all of us, even if we don't realize it. But here's how it works. The event happens, that's the catalyst, that's the first domino. But the event isn't what really gets us stuck. It's the meaning we attach to the event. So in this case, the newspaper article written about Roy, it wrecked him, it caused him pain. Of course, that's a bad event for him. But he took a meaning away. He attached a meaning that says, I will never be a disappointment again. I'm going to do anything it takes. I'm going to do this at all cost to keep this pain of being called a disappointment from ever happening again. And from that point on, so many of Roy's decisions got filtered through this lens of avoiding disappointment. So what is that for you? We all have events from our past, and we all have meanings we attach to those events. And we typically make people choices, conversation choices. We avoid certain things. We go into certain jobs. We have certain behavioral patterns or habits. A lot of times these meanings from past events are the things that explain our present day behavior. And more puzzle pieces fit together when Roy explains that he wishes he would have just stayed in Chelsea and just allowed himself to enjoy it. But no, he had to leave first. He had to get out before they could cut him. He had to get out before people saw him as a disappointment, as not good enough anymore. And Ted adds to it by saying, well, sometimes it's just easier to quit before you get fired. And I wonder if part of him was saying that both to Roy and to himself, because they keep dropping little hints, and I'm predicting that somehow that line is going to come full circle as Ted figures out what he wants to do with his career beyond this season. But it's cool to see Roy going back to his past and realizing the decisions he probably made based on those messages about himself that he took away from that article. And I love that he processed it by tearing up the article. It's his way of getting those beliefs out of his head. It's not an instant process, but it starts the process of him looking back at past decisions of how he might have done things differently if he had believed in himself a little more, if he had seen himself differently, and also maybe how he wants to handle future decisions. Of course, the current decision of him breaking up with Keely, he did the exact thing right there. He got out of the relationship with Keely before she could dump him, at least in his mind. Because here's the thing, if we don't see ourselves the same way that other people see us, we won't be able to live the type of life we want to live. He's running away from the relationship with Keely because he thinks he's not good enough. He's looking back on that, realizing, well, maybe I am good enough. Maybe I can handle this new pressure of the job. And maybe I am good enough to be with a high-flying business executive. Roy also does something that we all tend to do. He takes his tendencies and he makes them basically his identity. He says, maybe I should have stayed and allowed myself to just enjoy, but that's not who I am. That can be dangerous because when we start saying I am this or I am that, that keeps us stuck in whatever it is. And I love Ted's gentle confrontation, just saying, not yet. I love the possibilities that opens. I say that a lot of times to clients because the way they see themselves, it seems permanent. It seems like it's never going to be able to change. But when somebody else gives them a new possibility, a new perspective of, well, maybe this isn't where you're at now, but here's what's possible in the future, that can give somebody new wind and new motivation to change. My second moment is Rebecca taking on Rupert. But first, before she takes him on directly, she tells Keely about all the strategies and tactics that Rupert used to win Rebecca over back before they started dating. And what Rupert did to Rebecca was straight up love bombing. So a narcissist, which Rupert is, usually is very charming, very engaging, people love to be around them, and that's how he first showed up in the bar that Rebecca was bartending at, he showed up as that guy. Everybody loved him. But after she told him no when he first asked her out, he kept coming back to the bar over and over and over for 6 straight weeks, complimenting her, being around her, telling her, hey, it doesn't even matter if you say yes to me. The time for me is just worthwhile just getting to know you. So Rebecca, she talks about this history with, you can see it in her face and hear it in her voice, just how enthralled she was with this because he made her feel special. He made her feel wanted. And that's what a narcissist does so well on the front end. They make the person feel appreciated, admired, adored. But then once they've got that person in their clutches, that's when things start to turn. And it turned for Rebecca when Rupert got her to the point where she said something like, I just appreciated the fact that he wanted me, that he chose me. And that's the genius of a narcissist. They charm you, make you feel like the special one, and they feed you all this attention, and all that attention feels so good. But then they start to withhold it a little bit more at a time, and you want that attention, so you keep moving toward them, and eventually you just feel honored by the fact that they're choosing you, that they're wanting to be around you. So you'll start doing anything, including serving them, in order to get your needs met. But ultimately it's feeding the narcissist's ego. A narcissist thrives off of other people's adoration, so they'll manipulate them on the front end to get them to admire them. They'll use them up because it's called narcissistic fuel, and once they've drained each person of that fuel, in other words, once they've used them up where they can't do anything else to help the narcissist just tosses them aside. And of course, that's what Rupert did to Rebecca years ago, but Rupert's also doing what narcissists do to their exes. They just keep on needling them. They keep on getting revenge on them, because a lot of times the exes who won't take their crap anymore, that doesn't compute for a narcissist because, again, they need adoration. So if an ex doesn't give them the adoration anymore, even once they've rejected them, they're going to start to pile on and cause pain, just like Rupert's trying to do to Rebecca. But now Rebecca knows how to fight back. But she knows in order to win against Rupert, she's going to have to win over a different narcissist, in this case Zava. I love her tactic on convincing Zava to play for Richmond. She knows that everybody's been kissing up to him, telling him how great he is, and narcissists need that, of course. But Rebecca tried the different approach, and that's actually a good approach for businesses too, because a business can't do the same thing that their competition's doing, otherwise they're going to have to do it better. Not everybody can do the same thing and be the best, only one can. She knows that, yeah, I can be charming, but everybody else is trying to charm this guy into playing for them, so I'm going to take the different approach. She decides to attack his insecurities, because truly most narcissists are incredibly insecure deep down, and their narcissistic behavior is the way to cover that up and not ever let anybody see how they truly see themselves. So when Rebecca tells Zava that he's chicken, that he's washed up, overpaid, afraid to play for a team that can't already win with him or without him, that's playing right into that ego fragility that he's got going on. He knows that there's no guarantee that he'd win if he played for Richmond, but there is a guarantee that he'd win if he played for West Ham or Chelsea, and in his mind, continuing to win would continue to make him seem like a legend. So Rebecca straight up calls him out and dares him to do the courageous thing of playing for Richmond. And of course, since this is Hollywood, it works and he agrees. Now, I wouldn't recommend trying that with a narcissist in real life. It could work because most people's approach of kissing up to them and falling for their charm ends up burning them in the long run. So there are a very limited amount of times that this approach could work, but again, Hollywood helps it to work like magic in this case. My third moment shows what a genius manager of people Keely is. See, when Barbara rips into her friend who she just hired in the firm, Keely had the chance to go into Barbara's office and give her a taste of her own medicine, to really give her back and make her feel the way she just made her friend feel. But instead, she used 3 really helpful tactics when it comes to resolving conflict with people. Number 1, she found common ground. Number 2, she communicated the expectations clearly. Number 3, she gave the person hope for a future together. Before she found the snow globes as the common ground between the two of them, I think she really was probably ready to rip into her. But then she realized these snow globes are something I like too, so it gives us something that we have in common, something we can build on, so it's not just 100% intensity and disagreement. And number 2, she clearly explained to Barbara what the problem was, what she had done wrong, and what she needs her to do in the future. A good manager is going to be direct about that. They're not going to shy away from the truth. But then she gives Barbara a hope of a future together with her. She uses those snow globes to say, hey, the company must really believe in you if they send you to all these different places to do your job. So in the same way the company believes in you, I believe in my friend. So let's together believe in my friend and see what kind of impact we can make on her. And that was a genius line, because she empathized with Barbara, probably also gently poked into maybe the insecurity of the fact that Barbara never has a chance to really make friends. So she keeps these walls up since she's going from city to city to city. So maybe Keely's kind of breaking through those walls in the same way that Ted has broken through so many people's walls with his tactics. If you like this video and you love Ted Lasso as much as I do, hit that subscribe button and we'll stay on this journey together.